all with year-round support for you and your team. At Supersure.com, you can access tools like fine print facts. It'll translate your current policy into plain English so you see what's covered and what's not. Plus a business value calculator so you can estimate what your business is worth so you know what actually needs protecting. Go to Supersure.com. One super agency, one powerful platform. All your policies in one place. Supersure.com. That's Supersure.com. Paid for by Supersure Insurance Agency, LLC, a licensed insurance agency.
Why would you ask a financial advisor permission to spend your own retirement money? There's something wrong with this system. Tune in for a different kind of retirement show with Greg Ayler. Now at a new time, Saturdays at 5 on the Voice of Pittsburgh, 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
SchultzFord.com. 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 SchultzFord.com.
All right, going back to the phone lines, 866-391-1020. I'm going to jump on over to Luciano. You see how they did that, right? The bumper is jump. And I said I was going to jump back onto the phone lines. And so I was going to jump over to... It's radio humor, everybody. I'm trying it out. Play along. Luciano, you're on KDKA.
Thank you, Lenny, for taking my call. Yes, I like to listen to you. You're the only Republican on KDKA. You have a sister station out here in Scranton, Pennsylvania that covers Lackawanna, Montgomery County, and other parts of Bethlehem. And I heard them mention, one of the talk show hosts mentioned KDKA. So you have a sister station, WILK News Talk Radio out here. Let me just tell you this. I like to listen to you, brother. You're the only Republican on that station. You're the only Republican. I
don't know if that's true, but okay.
Yeah, come on, give me a break, brother. You know it's true.
Listen. Why would I say it if I don't think it's? Listen, maybe you don't want to offend your other talk show hosts. I would just, Luciano. Then I just wouldn't say anything. But I will tell you. I do know these people. I mean, I know Michael Bartley, for example, is a Democrat because he's a Democrat committee person. So I know he's a Democrat. But then when you start going to Brandon McKinley, Marty Griffin, Colin Dunlap, Larry Richard.
They're independent. I listen to them.
Well, no. Openly, there you go. Because, I mean,
you're the only talk show host that calls himself a Republican.
Yeah, because I've had a branding for over 20 years of being a Republican pundit on CNN and WVON and BBC and MSNBC and Fox. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to run away from that after branding it before I came to KDKA. So I understand your point, but. Yeah. Go ahead. I mean, cut you off.
I got a question. As a Puerto Rican that's hardcore, I love America. I was born in Philadelphia. I also lived in Erie, Pennsylvania, right next door to Pittsburgh. I am proud to be an American. I hope and pray that the good Lord, because I'm a conservative Catholic, pro-life, anti-woke, absolutely cannot vote for the Democratic Party. It's not the Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy.
But now I got a question. What does anti-woke mean?
Means I don't accept the sexual things about the God.
The Big K Morning Show with Larry Richards.
God said God created male and female. He didn't create another sex. It's in Genesis.
That's not woke. It's not what woke means.
Well, they got all kinds of bizarre things about.
No.
God didn't make a mistake.
That's not what woke means.
Oh, well, you know what I'm getting at. They have a bizarre things about, but I don't want to get into all that because I'm conservative Christian and I believe the Bible and I read the Bible every night.
What's your question?
I don't want to get into all that. My question to you is, what do you think? I hope and pray that the Republicans take the House and Senate. But what do you think about the Iranian government said that they have a contract out on President Donald Trump, and what Donald Trump says that if you dare kill me and assassinate me, I already have the military officers available. We're going to send thousands of bombs, and we're going to make Iran a parking lot. What do you think about that, Lenny? And I'll listen to you.
Okay, well, I appreciate your call, Luciano. First and foremost, I'm not rooting for this, But if you can't give commander-in-chief orders after you're dead. You're no longer commander-in-chief. Somebody else takes the oath of office. They're the commander-in-chief. So it would be up to that president to determine what they were going to do with Iran in the event that were to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Second, what do I think about them saying that they have a contract out on his life? I mean, do you know how many countries have had contracts out on presidents' lives over the course of our nation's history? Don't you think that the Soviet Union tried to kill every single one of our presidents from, 1945 on through? Go look at the history of the Kennedy assassination. The first thing people thought was that it was the Soviet Union and we're going to World War III. They successfully killed our president. You think that the Soviets didn't want to kill Reagan? Literally, with Hinckley, the first thought was that it was the Soviets that shot Reagan. I don't think anything of them saying that, because I think that there are countries from North Korea to Iran to even Russia to this day that have plotted to take out key strategic American leaders over the course of many decades. This is not a new dynamic. So I think they wanted to take out Obama. I think that they wanted to take out Bush. I think that they wanted to take out the other Bush. I think they wanted to take out Clinton. I think they wanted to take out Reagan. I think they wanted to take out Carter. We always are going to have geopolitical enemies that have no morality and that will, as they said in Batman, dance with the devil in the pale moonlight. Now, it's up to you, pop culture bingo people, to figure out what Batman that was from, because there's about 7 of the Batman movies now. That said, I have no surprise or shock that that was said. I don't know if anybody else should either. No, do I want people taking out political leaders? No. Domestically or internationally. But I'm not shocked that somebody said that this is in existence. 866-391-1020. Mike the Millennial, Ralph, David. David, I'm going to now. David, you're on KDK.
Oh, thanks, Lenny. Yeah, it's funny you talking about that. I'm old enough. I'm baby boomer, so for over 50 years, I've been hearing this junk about the assassination plots, and we've got to spend more military budgets. Let's see if we can get the press release out of the Iranians. It's obvious that Trump fired all of the translators before he sent Jared and the Witkoff in to negotiate the nuclear deal. They fired all of the experts the days before they went in to negotiate, and then they didn't know what they were listening to, and that's why we're in this mess right now. Trump was a liar when he, claimed that they were making bombs. They offered to give us the material, and I've actually now seen that Iran a year ago, 2023, Iran was trying to make to have their enrichment program go toward nuclear power plants all around the Middle East. And if you know about Iran versus Saudi Arabia, they've been fighting for centuries over who is, the rightful heir of Islam. And there's a photograph of the Saudis shaking hands with the Iranians when they agree to work on this nuclear enrichment program for the nuclear power plants. And all of a sudden, Donald Trump gets in there and messes up. I'm no fan of nuclear power, but when you start looking at a corporate takeover and that Donald Trump wants to move in on their nuclear enrichment program so that some crony of Trump gets the opportunity to do the enrichment programs for all of the power plants out there, dirty. They're just dirty. Donald Trump is organized crime. And for him to pretend that, he's got a death threats and all that, let's hear the translation.
Well, and David, I appreciate your call. I'm up against a break. I'm certain that there are real threats out there. But to your point, we can remember a time when they've said this about probably 7 other presidents. That's the difference. You know, we've never taken on Iran like this. I'm certain they're taking a different approach to us. But at the same exact time, I mean, they weren't chanting death to America just to kind of, you know, say something to get on TV. And that was in the 70s. So I don't think this is a new dynamic. I don't like the dynamic, but I don't think it's brand new either. Appreciate your call as always. 866-391-1020. Mike the Millennial, Ralph, and others. I will get to your phone calls after the news here on News Radio KDKA.
There's a world of opportunity out there, beyond the typical 9 to 5, where purpose and grit come together, where the American spirit and ingenuity are welcomed in places that could really use your skills and your experience. We're talking about the Peace Corps. With volunteers living and working in communities around the globe. And it's been called the toughest job you'll ever love. Tough, because it asks so much of you. To dig deeper, get your hands dirty, to go that extra mile, to rise to the occasion and meet challenges head on. And the love part comes from being part of something bigger than yourself. From building bonds that last a lifetime. It's knowing your hard work transformed lives, including your own. After 65 years, the Peace Corps is still the toughest job you'll ever love. Explore opportunities in more than 60 countries. Learn about benefits and apply at peacecorps.gov/serve.
The Big K Morning Show with Larry Richards.
This is the Big K Morning Show. I heard about this couple that hit their 50th anniversary, and they're sitting on the front porch, and the wife says to the husband, "Honey, I'm proud of you." He said, "What?" Said, I'm proud of you. "What?" "I'm proud of you." Said, "I'm tired of you too."
Weekday mornings 5:30 to 10 on the Voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
The Village at St. Barnabas, the perfect place for mom.
Alex Goen patented hypnosis. Stop smoking, no cravings, irritability, or weight gain. Walk in a smoker, walk out free. Only $59.99 or your money back. In town July 23rd. Sign up at alexgoen.com. That's alexgoen.com.
100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA. Covered by JP Roofing and Siding. Pittsburgh's #1 platinum roofing company. From the Aetna Medicare Studio.
From ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. Flags are being flown at half-staff across the nation's capital today as lawmakers remember Lindsey Graham, who passed away last night from a brief and sudden illness, according to his office. EMS teams in Washington responding to a call about a cardiac incident at his home last night. ABC's Selena Wang has more on how the late senator is being remembered.
Tim Scott, who, of course, is the other senator from South Carolina, calling him a friend and one of only 3 or 4 senators I invited to my wedding because Lindsey Graham had become a part of the family, saying it's a rare thing in politics and calling him irreplaceable, Ike. And on the other side of the aisle, Senator Chris Coons, a Democrat, remembering Graham for his ability to work across the aisle, also saying he loved him, quote, like a brother.
Graham's passing also reshuffles Republicans' power in the Senate, with now 51 Republicans able to vote amid Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell's continued absence due to unspecified health issues. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more on what happens next.
South Carolina's governor will now appoint an interim senator to fill Graham's seat until his term ends in January. Graham was running for re-election, so Republicans in South Carolina now have to hold a special primary to fill his spot on the ballot.
Thousands of Americans in the South and the East are recovering after a series of destructive storms in the last day. ABC News meteorologist Samara Theodore.
A race against time in Venezuela as the death toll rises.
New Orleans submerged with many cars stuck in the deluge. Over the last day, people forced to wade through several inches of water, with the floods turning streets into rivers. In Tennessee, a separate system dumped 6 inches of rain in some areas, with floodwaters overtaking parts of Del Rio. And American forces have launched another round of attacks on Iranian targets this afternoon. It marks the latest escalation in the fighting in the Middle East. You're listening to ABC News.
Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
KDKA and KDKA-FM HD2 Pittsburgh. W261AX Pittsburgh.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The popularity of cremation is on the rise. Unfortunately, so is the cost. I'm Dustin D'Alessandro, supervisor and funeral director. To keep the cost down, The Thomas M. Smith Funeral Home and Crematory Limited in Blawnox and the D'Alessandro Funeral Home and Crematory Limited in Lawrenceville have on-site crematories. By performing the cremation on-site without losing custody of the remains, our funeral homes can defray those costs and pass the savings on to you. Our fee for a direct cremation is only $1,250. This low-cost, direct cremation offer is available to all residents of Allegheny County. Surrounding counties will incur a slight additional fee based on mileage. Contact us with questions or to schedule an appointment by calling the Blawnox office at 412-828-5700 or our Lawrenceville office at 412-682-6500. Our websites are thomasmsmithfuneralhome.com and delisandroltd.com.
The KDKA AccuWeather forecast is brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 Platinum Preferred Roofing Replacement Contractor. Call 412-829-7711.
Times of sun and clouds, warm and humid this afternoon, high 86. Partly cloudy to clear skies tonight, low 67. Tomorrow, sunny to partly cloudy, quite warm and humid. Tomorrow's high 88. For AccuWeather, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg, 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
All right, hour number 4 has arrived. The phone lines have remained open, 866-391-1020, which is why I'm going to Mike the Millennial, and he is now on KDKA.
Hey, Lenny, what's up? So great to be with you. How are you?
I'm doing well, child of God. How are you?
I'm doing good. Well, I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the conversations today. Definitely, Mike's interview in the first part, that was interesting. It's always good to, hear someone around my age, with a different perspective, kind of talk about, how they feel our generation views the world and views what's going on with civic engagement and political debate. So I really appreciate you having him on obviously, and I always really enjoy talking to him as well. But first of all,
dig it. I appreciate you joining in. And they get, Mike and Drew have two different perspectives. They're doing two different things. They're engaging the world in two different ways. I mean, it's funny because Drew is probably end of Gen X, but probably the beginning of millennials. And then, Mike is a generation behind him. So in essence, you're having one in their 40s, one in their 20s, and then me. We won't say how old I am, but I guess you can look it up. And, there are different perspectives on how to move our communities forward facing all the things that we're facing. And so it's always fascinating to get that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm 30. I have no problem saying that. But I just think it was interesting when you were talking about that, why, the younger generation doesn't always engage as much. And I think, it's a lot of reasons. But I think, a lot of the young people that I see, they're so afraid of contention. They have this term for, I'm sure you're familiar with it, called ghosting, where if it's a little bit of a disagreement or if it's a little bit of an argument, they just automatically block the person. And I think, a lot of politics is contentious. It's arguing, it's debate. It's and I think that, that's why when you think about, well, why don't more young people call in to talk radio? Well, maybe they don't want to get screamed at for, 5 minutes because they disagree with the host. But I'm not saying that about you, of course. I'm just saying in general. But no, that was an interesting conversation, and thank you for that. And also on Lindsey Graham, I was really sad to hear about that as well. Did you ever get a chance to meet him, like at CPAC or any events? Or?
I actually met him here in Pittsburgh.
Really?
I met Lindsey Graham. I've met him a couple times. One of the times that sticks out the most is there was a fundraiser for Pat Toomey here in Pittsburgh in 2016, and Pat Toomey and I were both on the campaign trail in 2016. So I had an opportunity to meet both Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott. Now, Tim Scott I had known. Lindsey Graham I had met before because of my time in North Carolina. Tim Scott I had known since before he became a congressman in 2010 during the Tea Party wave. So I kind of knew Tim Scott. I kind of knew Lindsey Graham. They were both here for their colleague, Pat Toomey, who was running for re-election in 16. It was actually the event, Mike, was down in the Strip District portion of the city here in Pittsburgh. It was, I think it was before the convention, and it was definitely summer. And I had a chance I think I took pictures with both of them separately and collectively, and all of us in one picture. So, but yes, and had a chance to interact with him on a couple of issues, probably post 17, just in Washington, but not like a 6-month project, more like a briefing hearing, able to ask questions, kind of give perspective and the like.
Yeah, well, it is sad, and I agree with what you were saying. How when someone dies, it's always a race to be asking the question. So how are we going to replace him? What are we going to do now? What are the Republicans going to do? And I see people like this Laura Loomer posting these conspiracy theories, like, oh, Putin had him assassinated or something because he was going to impose sanctions on Russia, and he was just in Ukraine. I think it's just ridiculous. And I think, the reality is people get old, and when people get old, sometimes they have health issues. And I think that that's what happened here. I mean, it sounded like it was a cardiac, arrest event. And I just think it's me personally, I think it's kind of irresponsible to make up these wild conspiracy claims. Like, I don't want to get too much into it, but even like what Candace Owens and all them do, and they're making money off of this. And it's like, I would like to see one of these influencers that make up these wild claims, just one, say, okay, I'm not going to monetize this. I'm not going to make 1 cent off this video. This is my real thoughts. I'm not doing this to make money. They don't ever do that, so they obviously have an agenda when they come out with these claims. But yeah, I was going to talk about this kind of, following up a little bit on what David in San Francisco was talking about. Something I was going to bring up, the Supreme Court this past week said President Trump could fire independent regulators for any reason he wanted, but explicitly affirmed the Federal Reserve's independence. And it said its leaders could not be fired at will for the Federal Reserve. But the ruling, a lot of people are saying it could drastically change the federal government structure by giving President Trump more control over independent agencies. And, I'm just, I was wanting to get your perspective on how you think this is going to, play out in the future, because right after this happened, I'm sure, as you know, President Trump went and fired, I think, like 4 members of an elections commission board that was, an independent agency. So, it's like, people are becoming so numb to everything. This is like a huge thing. This is a huge ruling that he could just fire people at will, and they can't even challenge it in court anymore. But people are becoming so numb to it that they're just not speaking up as much about it. I mean, this is a big deal, Lenny, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, Mike, first and foremost, I always appreciate your call. Second of all, too often, and we've heard this critique previously, because the Congress, both chambers of Congress, both houses, if you will, have basically seen themselves as those that acquiesce to the will of the president if the president's in their same party, rather than being co-equal branches of the federal government. Because of that, you've created this hierarchy where some of the responsibility that both houses of Congress should have towards the executive has been wiped away. It's no longer there. I think it will return. I think it will return maybe within the next year and a half. I think that if it's split government after 2026, you're going to see Congress kind of, straighten its spine again, if you will. But that said, the inability for people to understand how this is supposed to work in this republic is troubling. And I think one of the lessons that we've learned from the Trump era overall is this. There are a lot more Americans that like autocracy than they care to admit. They love America. They like autocracy. Because if their person's in charge, they want their person to ramrod any type of public policy through. They want no opposition. They want no debate. They want no compromise. Part of it is they saw this happen with the ACA when President Obama first got into office without realizing they had such a unique set of political circumstances with the supermajorities that they were able to do that. But they paid one heck of a political price. The bottom line is you still are living the consequences of how they approach those supermajorities. Literally, number one, I brought this up previously, Scott Brown should not have won a special election in Massachusetts after Senator Kennedy passed away. Shouldn't have happened. That was a reactive reflex to the supermajority and how people thought that that was being abused. People in America, at least 20 years ago, remember that was 2009, almost 20 years ago, people didn't really like people dominating their points of view. There are a lot more Americans, as a result of what we've been going through for the last 10 years or so, that have no problems with saying, as long as my guy's in charge, they can be as strong and as hard as they want to be. And I continuously tell people, you cannot run government like a business because you can't fire citizens. But these Supreme Court decisions are basically allowing that to move down that path. Now, we're still not there. But by being able to fire people in independent positions, promise I know how to say that, you're taking away more of the guardrails that you're supposed to have. In America, you're supposed to constantly be having a back and forth type of debate, dialogue. You're supposed to be able to push and pull and find comfort in that. Say that this is part of the system. Be passionate, but not take things personally. Be engaged, but not let your behavior be so egregious that it goes beyond the pale. Now, beyond the pale is the feature, not the bug. And so as a result, when it's the feature, not the bug, you got to get rid of the egregious behavior, which means that you have to dominate your political opponent, which all of a sudden goes from political opponent to life opponent. They hate me. They hate America. We got to crush them. The system wasn't designed for that. It literally is designed to fail if you take that approach. So no, I don't think the decisions are good, but it's symptomatic of people walking away from their responsibilities in elected office, culturally, civically, and the like. We're supposed to be holding each other accountable. And when you don't do that, when you're inclined to say, as long as my people are winning, as long as my people are in charge, hell, let them do whatever they want to do, you run the risk of things falling apart as they have been. So, no, I'm not really pleased by it. I do think it will turn around. It's going to take a high level of political humility to do that. It's not going to take a strong person from the other side of things to bend it back. It's going to take a person with a soft heart and a stiff backbone to do it. It's going to take both, not one or the other. 866-391-1020. I'm getting to Ralph. I'm getting to John. I'm getting to others when I come back here on News Radio KDKA.
Your source for everything that's news. Hear it on News Radio KDKA.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for buying gas. That's right. You can earn cash back with Upside just for buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside, and just last year, I made nearly $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get cash back? If you like extra cash, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back when you fill your tank. Use promo code CHIEF to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code CHIEF for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code CHIEF for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I am grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Listen to KDKA Radio on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
Pittsburgh's 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
All right, getting back to the phone lines, 866-391-1020. Ralph in Pittsburgh, you're on KDKA.
Thank you, Lenny, for having me on today. Appreciate it. What I wanted to talk to everyone about here is everyone sits here and they talk about new faces in government, younger talent, younger people. Well, don't we have that now with the progressives? And they have ruined our country, our county, our city, and our state because of some of the things that they've done. Defunding police. They don't care about businesses. They don't care about growth. They don't care. All they worry about is raising taxes and screaming and yelling and hollering. They don't want to work with nobody. I mean, you sit here and talk about bipartisan stuff. They don't even want to work with anybody. It's their way or the highway. So before we sit there and talk about younger people or someone else coming in here and doing stuff, we need to take a look at what we have right now, get them out and reorganize. So that's what we need to do with these progressives.
So let me say this, Ralph. To your point, I think that way too many people, when they talk about getting new voices, I think that indirectly, I think people generally think of old voices, older, just to be honest, older, whiter, conservative, leans right. We need new young voices. What does that usually mean to people? Well, more diverse, younger, more progressive. I think that's the default for people. And when you talk about new voices, you have to put it into, to your point, put it into the context of where you're talking about. If you're talking about Allegheny County and Pittsburgh, and you're talking about new voices, to your point, there ain't nothing but a bunch of Democrats running this joint. And it's been like that for a while. Literally, the Republican at-large seat is being held by somebody from, I think, the Labor Party, quote-unquote independent. There's literally, I think, out of 15 seats, there are 13 Democrats, and Indy that leans left, and one Republican. You know, there's been one county executive that's been Republican, and that was 25 years ago. There hasn't been a Republican mayor in the city of Pittsburgh since the 1930s. You know, so when you start talking, to your point, about that shift, in those instances, you're not talking about Donald Trump. You're not talking about red states. You're not talking about the Republican-led Senate. You're talking from a different perspective. So to summarize, yes, when people talk about new voices and younger voices, I'd like to probably replace that adjective of younger with fresher, with more unifying, with, dare I say, bipartisan voices, because I'd like to think that the vast majority of communities throughout, whether it's Pennsylvania, even though there's some pockets, obviously, or the country, although there are obviously pockets there as well, people are closer to the center than they are to either fringe. It's not just on the far right. This happens on the far left as well. Is that a fair characterization of what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. And one other thing, too. Everyone forgets about what Iran's done to this country over the many years. I mean, you know, I was for this war, but I wasn't for that we're thinking with these guys. We need to just take them out and get rid of them because they have been a tyrant to our country for over 50 years or more. I mean, everyone forgets about the hostage situation. Everybody forgets about how Iran's been involved in some other antics involving our country and things like that. Everyone forgets about that stuff. But you know what? I was for this war. But now we're where we are because we're playing think and dink here instead of trying to get them out and get them taken away and get them out of our lives and get the Strait of Hormuz working, get our economy back up and running before Social Security runs out. And jobs, too, Lenny. Everybody sits here and talks about there's not enough jobs. There's jobs everywhere. You know what the problem is? Nobody wants to work. That's what the problem is,
I disagree with
Lenny.
well, hold on, Ralph. I can look at the job numbers and tell you the jobs are not coming in like they were. They're not being created the way they were. And so,
but there's jobs out there. There's plenty of jobs out there now, Lenny, but nobody wants to work.
No, the bottom.
That's the whole problem.
Well, no, I don't think nobody wants to work. The bottom line is you can't try to put together 3 jobs and try to make it a full-time job and then still take care of kids, still take care of family and the like. You don't work to live. You don't live to work. You work to live. Job's supposed to be part of your life, not the whole life. And too often what we're doing now is, if the job economy is growing by way of service jobs that's not paying that much, and I constantly talk about this, Ralph, if you have the step stool to success and not the ladder to success, then how far can young people actually go? You got to be able to have them climb to something. Those opportunities have been leaving American shores for decades now, which is why the average age of the first home-time buyer is getting older and older. There's a reason why the average American, instead of having maybe 3 or 4 jobs over the course of a 50-year career, is now at 7, 8, 9 employers over the course of that career because they have to cobble these things together. And even if you just look at the job reports, we added 57,000 jobs last month. 57,000 jobs would be good for the Northeast, maybe. It's not good for the whole country. And then the job numbers from the last 2 months got revised down. We had 160,000 jobs roughly in January, and we lost 158,000 jobs in February. So we had a net of 2,000 jobs added over the course of 2 months in 2026, after a year where we averaged less than 10,000 jobs added per month for the whole year of 2025. No, the jobs are not being created here in the United States. That's a problem. It's not just a federal problem, but that's a problem for regions such as the Northeast. There's a reason why people are going to the Sun Belt, because that's where, if there are any jobs, there are more jobs down there. That needs to be something that's resolved federally, but also regionally as well.
Well, Lenny, thank you. You have a great day. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ralph, I appreciate your call as always, child of God, very, very much. The jobs are not out there the way they could or should be. These policies have not worked. And I'm going to say that regionally. I'm going to say that statewide. I'm going to say that federally. Again, I would even venture to say that whether it's regionally, statewide, or federally, you do have this K-shaped phenomenon going on. If you're doing well in Pittsburgh, it is a place where you can buy a house and get more house than other places. You can get into the job market and go faster if you're connected here. You can buy a house and do okay if you have that leeway here. If you're trying to go from working class to middle class in Pittsburgh, it's a much tougher climb than it is in other cities that we compete against. Same with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. There's a reason why we've been losing population for years. There's a reason why we can't keep our best talent. There's a reason why we can't attract more jobs to the region like we need to and keep them here for 25 years. There's a reason why both Philadelphia and Pittsburgh were willing to cut Amazon all types of tax breaks that they didn't want to tell you about, by the way. Remember that. They wanted to keep those a secret to try to get them here. I do think that there needs to be different voices in this region, in this state, in this country. I do think that we throw bipartisan around, and the first time we see a Republican and a Democrat work together on anything, we get excited as if that's real bipartisan work. Real bipartisan work was Toomey and Manchin, and we saw how that was addressed. Let's go after gun violence. Let's do something that makes common sense, that helps 2 states, Pennsylvania and West Virginia, where there's a bunch of hunters. Let's keep that in consideration and create, quote unquote, bipartisan gun reform that still honors the Second Amendment. We saw how that bipartisan effort worked. But we'll celebrate anything else. And even when we have a bipartisan victory, like, I don't know, the housing bill that came out of Congress, we got a president that's going to make it all partisan-y all of a sudden. I need the SAVE Act, or you all don't get this. No Christmas for you, including you all running for re-election in my party. We need to do real work, folks. When I talk about fresher voices, it has to be real work. Be historic, not just trendy. Speaking of trending, we're going to be trending back with John and Joanne and others at 866-391-1020 when I come back after the news on News Radio KDKA.
Jumpin' July savings at Coons Market. Isn't that right, Frank Dentisi?
Right, Rob. In our meat department, all natural pork baby back ribs are $2.99 a pound. In the produce department, sweet bicolor corn is 6 for $3. In our deli, Silver Star baked ham is $6.99 a pound. And additional savings this week, selected varieties of Coke, Sprite, or Dr. Pepper. 6-pack half-liter bottles, 4 for $15.
It's happening now at Coons Market, a Pittsburgh tradition.
And Doug.
Hot dog! Get your hot dog! Customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Hey, what are you doing?
I like your method. Direct. To the point. A little loud, but...
Listen, people don't buy car insurance the same way they do hot dogs.
Not yet, but both are customizable.
Popcorn! Get your popcorn!
Hey, this is a hot dog area.
And customize and save area. Get a quote at libertymutual.com or with your local agent.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
More than 200 members of Congress are standing up for AM radio listeners. The AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act will keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 39179. Tell Congress to pass this critical legislation now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Did you see that UFO last night?
Is it real or is it AI?
How about the aircraft carrier floating down the river?
Nowadays, it's tough to determine what's legit and what to believe.
I know it's true because it was all over my feed last night.
But when it comes to news, depend on Pittsburgh's original news source since 1920. The voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
Join Beth Andrews for the Net Worth Financial Hour Saturdays at 1 to get the news and information you need to make your retirement dream a reality. That's the Net Worth Financial Hour with Beth Andrews, Saturdays at 1. Net Worth Advisors, LLC is a registered investment advisor.
From the Aetna Medicare Studios.
Proud to be the voice
ABC
of
News,
Pittsburgh.
I'm Mike Dabusky. Lindsey Graham is being remembered today after the longtime South Carolina senator died overnight at the age of 71. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more.
The senior senator from South Carolina served more than 30 years in Congress, more than 20 of them in the upper chamber, becoming one of its most recognizable members, even mounting a failed bid for president in 2016.
No one here, including me, ever expected to hear me say, I'm Lindsey Graham, and I'm running for president of the United States.
He went from political foe of President Trump's to one of his closest allies in the United States Senate.
President Trump earlier today calling Graham's passing devastating. The county medical examiner out with its preliminary report saying Graham died of aortic dissection due to arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease. And U.S. forces have launched a new wave of attacks on Iranian targets. This is ABC News.
Every time I've had CertaPro painters do work on my home, I really appreciate their professionalism. They make it worry-free, and it starts with a free estimate, all at the right price. And I love that each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated. Hi, this is Larry Richard. It's the perfect time to reach out, get CertaPro painters to visit your home. Schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. You'll be so glad you did. Trust CertaPro Painters.
If you or anyone you care about is facing a family legal matter, call Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL or visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country. with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on. Visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
If you or anyone you care about is facing divorce, contact Cordell and Cordell today. With over 100,000 clients served, we understand the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Call Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. Pittsburgh and Cranberry Township. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's Spruce, the weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people, pets, and bees. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Spruce, pet friendly, weed deadly. Find wherever weed killers are sold.
The KDKA AccuWeather forecast is brought to you by JP Roofing and Siding, Pittsburgh's #1 Platinum Preferred roofing replacement contractor. Call 412-829-7711.
A mix of sun and clouds this afternoon, warm and humid, high 86. Partly cloudy this evening, then clear later tonight, though 67. More sun than clouds tomorrow, quite warm and humid, high 88. For AccuWeather, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg, 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
All right, 866-391-1020. Still taking phone calls. You and I together until the top of the hour. Always enjoy being here on another sunny Sunday. Lenny McAllister, you and I, here on News Radio KDKA. Again, phone lines, 866-391-1020. Going to John in Ohio. He is now on KDKA. John? In Ohio? Ohio, John? Maybe not. John, call back, please. I was going to you. Love to hear your thoughts, your opinion, and the like. In the meanwhile, I'm going to go from Ohio to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, by way of the neighborhood otherwise known as Point Breeze, and go to Joanne. Joanne, you are now on KDKA.
Hi, Lenny. I am pretty sick and tired of hearing these people talk about people want to not pay the policeman. There's a few people that made that comment, and they've run away with it. Nobody wants to defund the police.
They did. Well, hold on, Joanne. They did that in Minnesota. There were a lot of people that wanted to do that. There were activists here, and there were activists around the country. As a matter of fact, there were some governments that did that. So it was more than just a few people saying it and people taking a comment and blowing it up. There were instances where it became public policy.
Well, all I'm saying is, if you know the history of policemen, especially in Pittsburgh, then you would understand why some people would say that. So they don't know their history, but I'm glad they don't. Most of us don't want we need the policemen, and they work hard. And as I said, there's a huge history of what went down with policemen, and it's crazy.
No. So to your point, Joanne, because I know you're upset over it. You can be for good police and be against police misconduct, and that you can do both of this. You can do both of those things at the same exact time, and that's what you're saying. And a lot of people, to your point, have said the same exact thing, and I concur with them.
Okay, and the other thing, if you want your man in the city or the county, move back to the city, get behind one of your people that you want in, and then vote for him. Work hard to get him in. Stop complaining about everything. You have a loaf of bread or whatever it is under your arm, and you're still complaining. I am so sick of what's going on. I don't agree with everything these people are saying. They went after Summer Lee. Do I agree with everything? But at least she did what they used to do, bring the pork back to her neighborhood. So if you look at a lot of people, nobody's perfect. I don't agree with everything these people are doing. Anyway, I could go on where I don't agree with what they're doing, and I'm going to work hard to hope I'll put my vote in and to say, no, I don't want it. That's why I go vote, and hopefully it won't happen. Whether it's taxes, we all have to pay taxes. We've been paying taxes ever since we started working. So, stop it. Come move back to Pittsburgh or Allegheny County. Get your person in, and then work to get them into the city or county voting range so you can have your point made. Or try to find something that somebody you like, and then work hard to get that point through. So it's just crazy. The last thing I do want to say about this man that died, we spent a lot of money with these politicians. If we all could get a job and end up as millionaires as these people have. Now, first of all, I need to say that I don't. It's too bad he did die, and prayers and blessings go out to his family and any other family. But he used to be working for the people, and they would do bipartisan issues to work for the people. But then it got to the point where they're working for themselves. So God bless his family. God bless the USA. But people, wake up and get your hand out of the sand, just like this president is on. So many of you people can look and say how wonderful he is. Anyway, that's enough, because I sometimes have to turn this radio off, listen to some of these people and their thought process. And we all need to have a chance for our thought process. And Lenny, I can't wait to get the book. I don't have it yet, but I'm getting it.
Well, the book's coming. The book, Joanne, I appreciate your call as always. The book's coming out August 11th. Ain't that far away. We're under a month, and it'll be out ebook, audiobook, and hardback cover. In fact, I had a few advance copies that I have given away. I'm giving a speech in Dallas. I'm going to be seeing a couple of people that I mentioned in the book. As I'm doing my keynote, I will see a couple of them while I'm down in Dallas, and they'll get a couple copies. But I'm looking forward to doing some events. I'm going to try to do some events at some Barnes & Nobles, as well as some local bookstores around the city, as well as other areas. I'm actually getting some emails now as we speak to try to set up local events in different cities. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that. But I appreciate your call. Appreciate the fact that you are going to buy a Venn diagram of one, An American Story. Joanne, spread the word. If you're in a book club, have your members of the book club buy the book. And if you got enough people in your book club, I might even come past and take some questions from your book club. So again, The American Story, a Venn diagram of one, An American Story. Go check it out at lennymcallister.com. Back to the phone lines, 866-391-1020. John in Ohio, you're on KDK.
Can you hear me this time?
I can, kind sir. How are you?
Well, a little bit frustrated. It's happened to me repeatedly before Chris Moore left. I got can't hear you repeatedly, and again. But I'll just get on with what I'd like to say. The claim that we're not getting fresh points of view, I think, is a real problem with the media, both from Democrats and Republicans. They are very bipartisan in their demonization of countries that are about to be bombed, invaded, that had been subverted, had been massively sent in special forces to try to regime change and overthrow. Well, one of them, among many, of course, is Iran. They were successful in the 1950s in overthrowing the democratically elected government of Mossadegh that had nationalized, for the benefit of the Iranian people, the British Petroleum and American Aramco oil interests there. So they just overthrew him in a brutal overthrow, blatant overthrow. And ever since that time, they've been trying to strangle that country out of its initial independence. But I think that the problem is really with the media. We do have bipartisanship in this country, hyper bipartisanship in support for wars, whether it's Lindsey Graham or Obama or Biden or anyone in the Democratic and Republican big choices.
Yeah, but I don't know, because, I mean, there are people that, particularly in the Democratic Party, it's interesting you'd bring up Biden, because Biden got himself in trouble, just him, not only him, but the whole Democratic ticket for 2024 because of his approach to what happened in October of 2023. How some people thought he wasn't forceful enough and other people thought he was too forceful. That doesn't seem to be the sign of a war hawk. That seems to be the sign of somebody that is trying to calibrate their approach to war in a way that is being more calculated than a typical war hawk. Because a typical war hawk more or less acts the way you saw in February, which is just jump on in and worry about the consequences later. That's not what you heard from the Biden administration in late 2023 and 2024.
No, I think that overall, I'm talking about the support for the beginning interventions since the 20th century, really. I'm an old man now, and I had to live through the lies and the warmongering of both Democrats and Republicans competing for the prize of the one who most demonizes Russia, China, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, North Korea, or any country.
Hold on.
Any country that disobeys.
Hold on, John. Hold on, John. Are you now putting up for like the communist Soviet Union, the oppressive regime in North Korea, the oppressive regime that was?
There you go. That's very good. You've proven my point.
But John, I asked you a question. Are you defending those regimes based on their human rights records?
I am defending them against the lies,
Are they lies?
Both Democratic branded and
are they lies,
Republican
John?
branded.
John, are they
yes.
lies? John, I appreciate your phone call. They're not lies. We know how the people of North Korea live. We know how oppressive it was under the regime of the Soviet Union. We know how oppressive it was behind the Iron Curtain. Those are not lies. That's documented history. It'd be like, I'm not even going to dive into it. I'm not going to even. We know that they're not lies. And by the way, there's a reason why the Iron Curtain fell. And it's not because we fired a shot. The Cold War was not a real war, but we all know that. It was a war, but it wasn't a traditional war. That said, 866-391-1020. George and Clareton, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold you on before I go to break because I got one more segment. I'm going to go now. George, I'm going to go to you after the break. Others, 866-391-1020. If you want to squeeze in before I get out of here, do that. Go on to break, then to George, then I'm out. You're on News Radio KDKA.
It's the little things. The information you need. People you know. The little things that make a big difference. The voice of Pittsburgh. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have a health reminder from the CDC.
Pneumococcal vaccination is recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose. And millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist. I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Ready to start thinking like Wall Street without leaving Main Street? Tune in Sunday mornings at 6:30 for a slice of advice with Kelton Burgess. Right here on the Voice of Pittsburgh, 100.1 FM and AM 1020 KDKA.
SchultzFord.com. 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 SchultzFord.com.
Hear about it. Then talk about it. 100.1 FM and AM 1020. KDKA.
All right, now I'm going back to the phone lines. Now I'm going to George. Now he's on KDKA. Now.
All right. All right, Lenny. Hey, congratulations once again to you and Mr. Moore. You guys are some of my favorites on here, that's for sure.
Thank you.
And the way I actually loathe a few others, that's not saying much, but I really mean that. I used to push for Chris for more time. He used to say back in the COVID days, and that was a unique time, and it was really nice to hear his voice, and that was in your exile from here, so to speak. But, we talk about everything that Trump does, and a lot of it I don't agree with, let's face it. But, no one seems to bring up. He's terrible for the environment. He rolled back the EPA right out the gate last time, a year and a half ago. And now I just saw something where we know about endangered and extinct, endangered animals, the whole bit threatened animals first, before they get extinct. They're passing legislation now, and it doesn't really have anything to protect the habitats. Without the habitat, what do you got? It would be like not having a steel mill and think people are going to pull paychecks or something. It's just not fashionable anymore. And I can only say that here because it seems like unless you're some hard guy from the fan to dominate the airways, no one is taking this up, and no one else is going to bring it up either. So we're really rolling back, man. In the 50s, again, there was a lot of things that were technically in black and white, as Bill Scott Heron would say. But one thing, people had respect for the environment. They had respect. They didn't even say environment. They just had respect for nature. And it came from people that I know that come from down south that were grandchildren of sharecroppers and knew how to farm, knew how to rotate crops and the whole bit. People have lost that. It was the Wally Cleaver types that went camping with their families with the station wagons with the wood on the sides, They had some respect for nature. There's no respect anywhere now. It's all human driven. That's what it is. And I think that's what John tries to get to all the time. I like John when he calls. He used to close up Chris's probably every time Chris was on. But that's what it is. We're just human, species centric driven. And that's where we are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who's doing.
Yeah, but with human beings though, John, with what John was saying, George, is this though, there is still right and wrong in this world. There is still perspectives to have. You can disagree on policies, but there are still certain things that are just going to be clear, either right or wrong. I mean, there are times, and I don't understand this. There are times that the United States of America is on the right side of an issue. Not always. I'm not blinded by that either. I mean, I know about what happened in 1953, for example, with Iran, and it was wrong. And I think there are many Americans that would say that. But I'm not going to sit there and say that we were on the wrong side of the Cold War. I'm not going to sit there and say that, the United States doesn't treat its average citizen better than they did in the Soviet Union. The flip side is, of course, I'm not going to sit there and say that the United States treated everybody well. Because the Soviet Union used to point out and be like, how do you treat your African Americans? Or at the time they would call them Negroes or black folks. You can't tell us about human rights and then this is what you all do with apartheid in your country. Well, it's not apartheid. It's Jim Crow. It's still the same. So, you could still clarify that. It's just the same with... Go ahead, George.
That's what I mean about the species-centric. It's just humans battling humans on their ideas. But when we forget about the environment, which is beyond all of us, we're supposed to be stewards of this. And no one talks about that. This isn't even a part of somebody's mental philosophy, vocabulary, thought. I hate the word thought process because there's someone on here that's always says thought process. Not that he's a benchmark for a stamp yes on anything. But it's not going through people's cognitive brains or in discussions or anything else. We talk about industry, which is gone. We talk about sports ad nauseum, which has been going on for way too long, okay? And then we don't care about what's going on around us until it's no longer there.
George, you're not wrong. I mean, the dexterity of our, hate to say it, thought processes is is lost in many, many ways. We do not have it anymore to be able to talk about 5 things at once and make them interconnected, make them all make sense, not let them be in 5 different lanes. That's a big problem with where we are culturally, civically, politically, and the like. Some of these things have to be thought about all at the same exact time, not just one at a time. And too often that just doesn't happen anymore. It's kind of like to bring up what Joanne brought up previously, defunding the police. Now, yeah, there were some people that said just take it from the police departments, throw it into to public services, take a new approach to policing and go from there. There are others that were saying, when they would say defunded the police, they'd be like, what do you mean by defunded police? It's like, don't continue to militarize the police. Don't keep giving the police, leftover weaponry from the military. They may not need that. Let's not train them the same exact way as we would train the military. You might be changing a culture unnecessarily. People have different definitions of that. Unfortunately, back to the dexterity of conversation and the like, we have lost our ability to be able to be nuanced in the conversation and keep the conversation going past the first obstacle of disagreement and a second obstacle of disagreement. The whole, and I mentioned this in a book, I mentioned this on the air, I mentioned this in speeches, and particularly in the speech I'm giving this week. The founding fathers, both the original ones and the ones that put the country back together multiple times, different iterations of founding America, 1860s, 1950s. I would consider founding fathers that led the civil rights movement as being founding fathers of modern day America. Because it didn't look like this before 1947, 1945 after World War II, the 1950s, after Rosa Parks. It didn't look this way after, Little Rock, 1957 was a point in America where a president stepped in to reinforce the Constitution for African Americans, and it went from there. So there are multiple founding fathers, if you will. But all of those founding fathers and mothers were hoping that we would be able to move past the first obstacle of disagreement, the second obstacle of disagreement, continue to pivot into other points as we debated and agreed and disagreed. That has been lost. I think that's kind of what everybody's grasping for. That's part of what we were talking about with both Mike and Andrew. I appreciate them both coming on today. After America 250, everybody had their little bit of fireworks and celebration, even though it kind of fizzled out a little bit last weekend. What's up next? What are we celebrating now? What are we doing now? That's really the challenge of where we're going moving forward. It's still America 250. This is still the celebration of the 250th anniversary of 1776. Just because we're moving into August eventually, and just because we're moving into the tail end of the year and a midterm election, does not mean that we lose what's supposed to be the spirit and the sentiment of that. That's going to be a challenge for us. I hope we're up for the challenge. Now, the challenge I'm up for is coming on the Big K Morning Show with Michael Bartley filling in for Larry Richert tomorrow. We're going to be doing it on location in Oakland. Why? Because someone decided to get rid of, parts of the Parkway East for the next month. So we're going to talk about that. And Michael and I have an opportunity to just kind of vibe and get to talk for an hour, 8 to 9 tomorrow. I'll be on the Big K Morning Show with Michael Bartley filling in for Larry Richert. In the meanwhile, go to LennyMcAllister.com. Go pre-order the book, A Venn Diagram of One, An American Story. If you get a chance, follow me on social media. I will be, I think, live streaming the speech that I'm going to be doing in Dallas for the Teacher Freedom Summit down in Dallas, Texas. Coming up, I think the speech is Thursday that I'm giving. Keynote down there. Nice little 25-minute speech. In the meanwhile, appreciate you joining me here on another sunny Sunday. I love you all. I will catch up to you soon. Catch up to you tomorrow morning. TCNGB. Take care and God bless. Peace.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept.